Z, allowed me back again with another video. On this video, hold on, let me get myself settled. Let me take that shit off so I'm not looking at myself. Y'all know I like staring at myself. Word bro. But listen, in this video, remember yesterday we made a video and I informed you guys on how Israel and Trump and Iran are coming to a ceasefire deal. They're coming to a ceasefire deal. It's a 10 and 15. I don't know. Trump said 15. Iran said 10. I don't know if it's 10 or 15, but it's a point plan deal where one of the deals where Israel or US would leave Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon right now, alone. That was one of the deals they made in the ceasefire. Trump went on a antic rampage, Twitter thumb texting saying he's going to end a civilization. Pakistan came and asked Trump if he could make a ceasefire. Pakistan, shout out to Pakistan for doing that. Pakistan somehow got to Trump to not end a whole civilization like he said. I don't know about this nigga Trump. This nigga Trump says shit like that. You better know that he's not bluffing. He's not joking. He's not joking about nigga. Don't joke. He's not funny. He's only funny when he's roasting other people. I'm not gonna lie. But it's been only 20. It's been about 12 hours. I was about to be like 20. How long has it been? It's been about 12 hours. And the deal is already backfired. Now let's take a look at what these journalists are saying. You know, we make our own research on this side. If you ever been on my YouTube channel before, you just know that we on this bitch, we grinding, we give out the news about the war and all of that. All I want y'all to do is like and subscribe, bro. Now let's get straight into the video.
On his quote unquote.
Hold on, big man. Now, I know we don't really watch the whole thing.
Deal with Iran to avoid, in his words, the whole civilization dying. But it turns out that the deal is an unmitigated win for Iran and loss for the United States. So
I don't know if it's a loss for any party because a ceasefire is always good. But apparently it's a loss for America. I don't know how you look at it. I look at it like a ceasefire is not a loss for anyone. It's a good thing. You know what I mean? People not dying is good.
Operation Epic Fury. Iran will continue to control the Strait of Hormuz. Iran gets to charge tolls now on ships passing through the strait, and Iran gets to keep its enriched uranium, which is necessary to develop nuclear weapons.
That's a loss on US. That's a loss.
We were led to believe was the point of this entire thing. In other words, Iran offered up basically no concessions, and now they'll have even more money to rebuild. Yeah. And what do we have to show for all of our efforts? Well, we've got 13 dead Americans, almost 400 wounded, the largest oil supply disruption in recorded history, gas prices surging toward $4.30 a gallon nationally, and we'll have to contend with what Trump actually said when he was asked about Iran charging tolls on ships.
Okay. I had a conversation with the president this morning about all of this. He clearly believes that it was his threats that caused the Iranians to agree to things that they wouldn't have agreed to before. He acknowledged that China played a role here in bringing about this ceasefire agreement. Obviously, Pakistan as well. But I asked him about some of the many unanswered questions here. Iran is saying in their 10-point proposal that they would maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz. They're talking about charging a toll of $2 million per ship that passes through it. They didn't have control of the strait before the war, so this would be a step back. I asked President Trump if he's okay with that, if he's okay with Iran charging a toll, and his answer was quite stunning. He said maybe it will be a joint venture. And I said, a joint venture between the U.S. and Iran? And he said, yes. He said, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Maybe we'll do that.
A joint venture.
Brother, how are we going to do a joint venture? We just killed most of their leaders. Brother, this guy, bro, he's so deluded. He's becoming deluded at this point. This guy, Trump, is starting to get deluded, bro. How is it going to be a joint venture? This is so stupid.
With Iran, The country that we just went to war with, that we're still at war with. The country that killed 13 American service members.
So before you're telling me before the war, them niggas weren't even controlling the Strait of Hormuz, where about 50% of shippers that pass through there are from other countries. You're telling me they never even controlled it, and now after this peace plan, he got an order, they're controlling this. This is a win for them.
According to the IAEA, possesses over 400 kilograms of enriched uranium to 60% purity. That's a nearly 50% increase since just February. That country. Trump wants to go into business with them and split the profits from a toll booth on the world's most critical oil passage. Sure, why not? And while we're at it, maybe we can launch that cybersecurity task force with Russia that Trump wanted so badly. While we're on the topic of insane things that should never happen. Clear about where things stand here.
Skip.
The Farsi version of Iran's 10-point ceasefire plan included the phrase acceptance of enrichment. But in the English version, shared with journalists, that phrase was mysteriously absent. So Iran is putting out two different versions of the same deal. One for their people and one for ours. And that is the agreement that Donald Trump is calling a total and complete victory. So he's either being played or he knows what they're doing and doesn't care.
They're scamming
I genuinely don't know which one is worse.
They're scamming Trump.
And by the way, don't take my word on any of this. This was Fox News' thoughts on the matter just today.
But I will say that the president's demands, we have not reached any of those objectives. I have full confidence that the president is going to find some way to make this happen. But he said that we want to dismantle all major.
So this is U.S. demands and this is Iran's demands. I need to stop saying Iran, nigga. They didn't run nowhere. But so we're saying they can't have nuclear power, zero nuclear. I can't see that. Missiles, so no missiles. Strait of Hormuz, passage, free passage, safe passage. I'm seeing that says. I don't know what that says right here. The X. I don't know. I can't see that right there.
Nuclear facility.
End to what? Iran's blah blah blah. Okay, guarantee no. So this is their thing. This is Iran's demands. So they could still do the nuclear shit. That's what they're saying. Full sanctions relief. Okay, so they get relief on top of it. Withdrawal of U.S. combat forces from the region. Release of frozen Iranian assets and war compensation. Guarantee no further attacks on Iran and its allies. Bro, we did not agree to none of this, and they're not agreeing to none of this. This is like the opposite. What?
That has not happened. The end of uranium enrichment on the soil, they're still enriching. The transfer of the enriched uranium stockpiles out of Iran, that hasn't happened. The acceptance of intrusive international inspections, they're still not willing to do that. And they have not suspended
end of Iran's
ballistic
proxy
missiles
support.
program. They're still firing them
Russia
off
sending them
to
bread.
stop the production of the long-range missiles. That's just a few of them on the president's proposal. The question is the president using this 2 weeks to give our soldiers a break, a rest, to see if we can get this ultimately done? We'll see.
Yeah, not great when even the state TV guys don't know how to spin this one.
That's not happening, guys.
And let me be precise about something here because I don't want to overstate anything. This is a ceasefire, not a final deal. The formal negotiations have not yet concluded.
Yeah, nothing's happened
yet. There is a 2-week window now. Maybe something better comes out of it. I genuinely hope so. But based on what's on the table right now in front of us, based on the terms that Iran is claiming and that Donald Trump is calling workable, this is an L.
It's not
Donald
looking
Trump
too good, boys.
Pulled us out of the JCPOA in 2018. He called it a horrible one-sided deal, said Iran would never get nuclear weapons on his watch, said that he was the greatest deal maker in the history of the world. And so after waging a voluntary war that killed American troops, crashed energy markets, triggered the worst oil supply shock since the 1970s, and left Iran in a stronger strategic position than when they started this war, Donald Trump wants you to know that it's a big day for world peace.
That's where we end that video. There's nothing else. Bro, he talking west, bro. We're not gonna... Y'all only needed to see that part, bro. But anyways. On another news. The ceasefire that was happening, like I said, just a few minutes ago. That did not end up going to plan. Did not end up going to plan because... Guess who ended up ruining the ceasefire deal? This happened to be... Israel. Now, Israel went on an attack. They said that they're separate from the deal that was struck. But one of the planned deal that was in the context of the deal that they supposedly signed and whatever they did for the 2 weeks ceasefire was that nobody, including Israel and the US, will attack Hezbollah. This is what happened.
Clear and explicit. The U.S. must choose ceasefire or continued war via Israel. It cannot have both. The world sees the massacre in Lebanon.
This is Iran's security of one of the main members in Iran saying this.
Israel. It cannot have both. The world sees the massacre in Lebanon that took place today, and
Israel just massacred about 100 people in Lebanon. 100 airstrikes just hit Lebanon.
Israel launched nearly 100 coordinated airstrikes in just 10 minutes across Lebanon. This intense barrage targeted Hezbollah positions in Beirut, the Bekaa Valley, and southern Lebanon as part of Operation Eternal Darkness. The strikes came hours after the United States and Iran agreed to a 2-week conditional ceasefire, but Israel stated that the truce did not extend to its campaign against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel has repeatedly accused Hezbollah of deliberately relocating fighters, command posts, and weapons into mixed residential and civilian neighborhoods in Beirut, using civilians as human shields. This is why strikes have hit dense urban areas, causing visible damage to buildings that also house or are near civilian homes, shops, and offices.
Bro, and Israel don't care. They will hit. It doesn't matter if they're hiding, bro, around civilians. They will still hit it. You know what I mean? They believe it's war. Breaking news. Iran then ended up hitting Dubai. Let's see how that looking.
The Strait of Hormuz was opened after the ceasefire announcement, as you can see from the shipping map on your screen.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like ships or tankers were allowed to use the middle of the strait. That's exactly what they were using before this war started. But yesterday, Iranian foreign minister did say there are technical limitations to how much of the strait would be open. The technical limitations could be that there are still sea mines there, so Iranian Navy is working with ships to basically have them pass through over a safe lane. Or it could be that Iran doesn't want people using international waters. They want them going through their own territory so they have more control over what goes in and out. Now, unfortunately, because of most of the strait still being unusable, it seems the traffic is not going back to what it was before the war. It's still around 20 ships a day, which is a lot higher than 3 ships a day that we were seeing before the ceasefire, but still, it's not as much as before. Now, unfortunately, the biggest risk is that even that 20 ships per day traffic may disappear very soon. You see, there is a ceasefire between the
This right here is a strait. See how it goes from basically the Middle East to Europe to deliver stuff to Europe. That's why it's so important.
States and Iran and Israel. But one of the bigger problems that Iran is facing is that its military seems to be not listening to the top leaders, or maybe the message hasn't gotten down all the way down the chain of command to the military commanders who are actually managing their autonomous units with ballistic missiles. That's because literally just minutes after yesterday's ceasefire announcement, Iran was firing ballistic missiles at Israel. Take a look.
Yeah. This is right after the ceasefire, bro.
What you just saw there was an Iranian ballistic missile with a cluster warhead, those bomblets raining down on Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. This came after the ceasefire was announced by President Trump and an indication that it will take time to get this agreement in place.
Now, that was just hours after the ceasefire announcement, so in a way, that was understandable because this is something we saw during the 12-day war last year too. Even though the leaders had agreed to a ceasefire from both countries, we still saw some attacks going back and forth, and it took a little while for all the attacks to stop. So, understandable because it has happened before, and also because Iran has very publicly said that their military is very independent from like the civilian leadership sector, meaning they just continue doing their thing because all the assassinations that were going on in Iran, they set it up that way. So it makes sense it would take a little while for them to shut down all the attacks. But what doesn't make sense is attacks are still ongoing more than 14 hours after that announcement of the ceasefire. And it's not just Israel that's being attacked, even the Gulf countries are getting attacked. And guess what? Some of them are now hitting back. This is something that we did not see during the war itself, but we are now seeing during the ceasefire. Iran attacked the UAE after the ceasefire announcement. They attacked Kuwait, they attacked Saudi Arabia, and they attacked Qatar. So it seems like
what type of dusty ass ceasefire did you sign, man? Bro, this guy's
message hasn't gotten down the chain of command, or the Iranian leadership doesn't actually have control of the military completely. And that's something that the US side was worrying about before. They wanted to figure out who actually has the control, and that's why there was some I guess testing going on as to who they were talking to, meaning US asked the person they were negotiating with to show them if they actually have control over Iran, and to show this, the person let pass 10 ships to the Strait of Hormuz. And again, we're seeing the Strait of Hormuz was open. So there's a good argument to be made that the person that the United States is negotiating with has control over the Navy that's managing the Strait of Hormuz, but doesn't have control over the Iranian military that's managing the ballistic missiles. Now, Pentagon did do a press conference this morning, basically recapping everything the US military has achieved over the last month or so in Operation Epic Fury. And during this press conference, Pete Hegseth was asked about the missiles that Iran is still firing. Well, take a listen to his answer.
Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. 2 questions. Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran has continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated, is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting that, we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer one-way attacks or missiles, because it takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold.
Now, this is where things get even more confusing. Last night, we had an attack on an Iranian refinery on the Iranian island of Lavan. Now, this attack was clearly a big deal, but according to US officials, it wasn't the United States or Israel who carried out this attack. And according to some speculation that's going on online, it seems UAE warplanes were in the air when this attack happened. So there is a possibility that it was the UAE who carried out this attack. And if that's true, this would be the first time a Gulf country has gotten involved publicly, or I guess directly, in an offensive operation against Iran. Again, just a rumor going around. We don't actually have any concrete evidence as to if UAE carried out this attack or not. There's also a rumor going around that this is an Israeli false flag attack to keep the war going. So we don't exactly know who was involved, but the US officials are saying that it wasn't the United States or Israel who carried out this attack. Now, if we are going to talk about false flags, it could be an Iranian false flag too. Because much like there are factions here in the United States and in Israel who do not want this war to stop, there are factions inside of Iran too who do not want the war to stop, who probably don't agree with the ceasefire. So they could have also carried out an attack. Again, we don't exactly know which one is the truth. There are a lot of rumors going around, but since we are talking about Israel, let's go through the Israeli reaction, more specifically the Israeli administration's reaction to the ceasefire. Now, before we do that, just a quick reminder to hit the like and subscribe button down below. It really does help us out.
Hit the like and subscribe.
Israel is part of a ceasefire that the US and Iran agreed to.
Israel's part of it.
What that specifically means is that there's a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Not necessarily Israel and all the Iranian proxies that Israel is fighting. In fact, we were actually seeing some news reports come out of Lebanon saying that, hey, the ceasefire actually does not relate to Lebanon. So the Israeli offensive inside of Lebanon, Israeli war against Hezbollah will continue as is. The situation will remain unchanged. Well, later in the night, the Pakistani Prime Minister, who's basically the main mediator between the United States and Iran, publicly said that Hezbollah is covered under this ceasefire that the United States and Iran agreed to, meaning there needs to be at least a pause against Israeli offensive against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Of course, a pause doesn't necessarily mean that Israel's going to pull back from southern Lebanon, where they have gone in to create a buffer zone, but at least a pause would be reasonable to expect if there is a ceasefire agreement. Well, guess what? Soon after the statement from the Pakistani Prime Minister, Israeli Prime Minister put out a statement of his own. And he basically said the 2-week ceasefire between Iran, Israel, and the United States does not actually include Lebanon. That means the Israeli offensive inside of Lebanon will continue as is. Nothing is unchanged over there. This is something President Trump himself confirmed this morning when talking to a PBS reporter, basically saying that Hezbollah was not part of the deal that the United States and Iran agreed to. That means there's no restrictions on Israel in their offensive inside of Lebanon. Now, here's where things get a bit more interesting, because this morning, the Israeli offensive didn't just continue. It escalated to a level that we have not seen ever before. The strikes were the hardest strikes Israel has carried out in this war. Now, before we talk about those strikes, they
didn't do like, you know, a little strikes, nothing to kill nobody, you know what I mean? Nothing crazy. They went full to the pedal to the hammer, nigga. Not even pedal to the metal, pedal to that fucking hammer, nigga.
Go over the Israeli reaction to the ceasefire announcement that happened last night, because that tells us a bit more about how Israel is thinking about this whole war. According to Wall Street Journal, Israel was informed about the ceasefire at the very last second, and it wasn't very happy about the fact that the United States agreed to a ceasefire. In fact, Benjamin Netanyahu was not involved in the negotiations at all. After the United States had already agreed to a ceasefire and before the announcement was made public is when President Trump called Israeli Prime Minister and let him know, hey, we're going into a ceasefire. Now, Israelis, of course, did agree to participate in the ceasefire, but they were specifically just talking about Iran. They were clear that Iran and Lebanon are two different arenas, so Lebanon is not part of this deal. All of this brings us to this morning when Israel carried out the most intense airstrike campaign inside of Beirut of all this war. I just showed you guys. We haven't seen anything like this since the war started.
Look at this guy. He don't give a fuck. He's just on his phone.
Israeli airstrikes took place in less than 10 minutes. It seems because of this airstrike, the ceasefire is falling apart. Iranian media is now saying that they will withdraw from the ceasefire agreement, and on top, they will refuse to go to the in-person meeting that's supposed to take place this Friday in Pakistan because of the attacks that are going on in Lebanon. Iran is basically calling on the attacks to stop. On top of this, we're also seeing in the same statement from the same state media that Iran has shut down the oil tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Again, there are still other stuff that are also being transported through the Strait of Hormuz. So I'm guessing that still continues, or maybe they did not clarify what they're aiming for. But nonetheless, oil tankers do make up the majority of the traffic in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. So considering that Iran is now saying they're going to shut it down, this basically means that ceasefire is kind of dying out in just 12 hours. Here's more details.
12 hours.
Good morning. We start with breaking news. State media reports that Iran has halted the passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz after Israeli attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. Earlier today, we know 2 vessels were able to go through this passageway. But again, state media is reporting that the Iranians are choking off the strait. I just got off the phone with a...
Bro, this ceasefire ended. It didn't even end. This ceasefire was 12... Bro, I can't even speak, bro. Hold on.
Media is reporting that the Iranians are choking. Were able to go through this passageway. But again, state media is reporting that the Iranians are choking off the strait. I just got off the phone with a senior Israeli official who was sounding the alarm about this action by the Iranians, saying only just a few hours into this ceasefire,
this ceasefire was 12 hours. It hasn't even lasted 12 hours. It's supposed to be 2 weeks. Bro, what kind of bullshit ceasefire did this nigga Trump sign, bro?
Are already showing that they are trying to leverage their control over the strait and put pressure on global energy trade. And it also comes after reports overnight indicate that an Iranian attack hit Saudi Arabia's east to west oil pipeline, and there was significant damage that was currently being assessed. Boys. This is important.
GG's, we don't even need to watch the rest of that video, right? No, nigga, no. Anyways.
Lebanon is not included in the 2-week truce between the US and Iran. Well, Pakistan had announced that the immediate ceasefire includes...
We begin tonight here with the breaking news. The U.S. and Iran.
Let's see this. Let's hear this nigga talk.
This is a fragile ceasefire.
You already know.
Iran opened the critical passageway. Iran closing the strait, blocking oil tankers from
this is where I wanted
as Israel unleashed a sprawling attack on Lebanon. President Trump saying Lebanon is not included in this ceasefire deal, calling it, quote, a separate skirmish. Tonight, a gallon of gas in the U.S. now at $4.16 a gallon, up $1.22 since this war began. And the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. So what next? Mary Bruce leads us off from the White House.
What's next?
The White House says the, quote, fragile ceasefire with Iran is holding. But tonight, President Trump's key condition remains unmet. Iran refusing to reopen traffic through the Strait of Hormuz.
Still, Vice President GG's to this ceasefire, because this is just them, bro. Iran is scamming y'all niggas. Iran is scamming y'all niggas, which rightfully so. Because all y'all niggas been doing is scamming niggas in the whole world. But all I'm saying is, this ceasefire is just throw the paper away. This shit done. This shit already done.
Who is now leading negotiations, insists, quote, fundamentally, we're in a good spot.
No ceasefire ever goes without a little bit of choppiness.
The fuck? What do you mean a little bit of choppiness?
Straight because they say the U.S. has gone back on what they claim was a key element of the truce, that Israel would stop bombarding Iranian-backed Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Today, Israel unleashing a sprawling barrage of more than 100 attacks on the Lebanese capital Beirut, the most since the war began, killing at least 180 people, more than 1.2 million people displaced in the conflict. Iran's foreign minister declaring the world sees the massacres in Lebanon. The ball is in the U.S. court, and the world is watching whether it will act on its commitments. But Vance today saying
let's see what this guy Vance says, and then I'm gonna end the video there, boys. Y'all got the news.
From a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case.
One thing is,
bro, how do you this is a war. How do you make a mistake like that? How do you make a mistake like that? I'm sorry, but it's either one thing. US is lying or Iran is lying. But I don't think, honestly, I don't think Iran is lying. Because I think they would 100% want that to be included. So Israel just happened to just keep going in Lebanon, trying to take over the whole fucking western part of Lebanon. But that's a separate skirmish when they're allies of Israel, of Iran. I don't know, guys. This is not looking too good.
Before the war, ships could pass through free of charge. But President Trump now telling our John Carl the U.S. and Iran could work together one day to collect tolls.
Go, this fucking guy, bro.
Saying we're thinking of doing it as a joint venture. Any arrangement like that seems a long way off.
We don't fucking live there.
The strait remains closed. The national average price for a gallon of gas now at $4.16, up $1.22 since the war began. Economists say it could take months to fall once the strait reopens. Today, the administration also pressed to explain the president's plan for halting Iran's nuclear program and moving their more than 900 pounds of enriched uranium out of the country.
They will either give it to us, which the president has laid out. They'll give it to us voluntarily. We'll get it. We'll take it out. Or if we have to do something else ourselves, like we did in Midnight Hammer or something like that, we reserve that opportunity.
And David, those negotiations.
All right. Y'all hear it here first. Just know that what he just said, whatever Epic Fury, Midnight Hammer, whatever the fuck they call that shit, it's coming back again. This ceasefire only lasted 12 hours. Let's see the next 12 hours and what happens. I'll keep y'all niggas updated. Y'all niggas better stay tuned. This is Dumb Nigga News, nigga. You know, we do our research on this side. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm gonna go and I'll be back in a couple hours with another video. I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I'm gonna keep y'all posted in this war. Be safe and be sexy, nigga. Like me. What the fuck you talking about? Yo, why my camera like that? Yo, y'all niggas can't even see my face, bro. Yo, bro.